So how are we going to break this down? What are we talking about today, Nathan?
Well, we're going to do a list because everybody loves lists. And what we've decided to do is look back at the content and interviews that we've done in the last year, because we're coming on November 21st is going to be the show's anniversary.
Yep.
So we're going to look back, and we've picked out a few things each that really stood out to us. And we're going to start, we've got 5 of them each, I believe. We're going to start with item number 5 and work our way to the top as what we believe to be the most important kind of things that we've learned in this little podcasting journey. And we've learned a lot.
Yeah.
So it took a little bit to get that kind of narrowed down, but I think we've got it to a fairly succinct point now.
I think so.
So if you want to start, co-host Corey, you can go ahead with your number 5. What do you got?
Sure. And like David Letterman, in my opinion, was the all-time greatest late night talk show host ever. And sometimes his top 10 list went in true order, and sometimes they were all as absurd. Number 10 was as absurd as number 1. So I think for mine, I could juggle these numbers around a little bit. They aren't necessarily firmly 1 to 5, but
sure.
First one I have is that it's not all about stigma. And this is something I that opinion of mine has softened as our show has gone on. And I think I came into this experience feeling really stigmatized by the healthcare system, stigmatized and sort of pushed to the side at times with what happened with my story with work, and that all of the decisions and drivers there were about stigma. And
interesting.
I think that stigma is present and is alive and well.
It is alive and well, and it is causing problems, no question about it.
Absolutely it is. But I also think that sometimes it's very easy to like get stuck in that feeling, and that feeling of being stigmatized is it's a bit of a bubble. And in looking at the system as a whole, and not just with how they treat people in addiction, but how they conduct themselves on a daily basis, it's very much about liability and about an unwillingness to be accountable and a fear of accountability, I think. Because there are implications of that. And I think that is what bogs down the bureaucracy and bogs down the whole system of processing individuals through this machine, as we have phrased it. And there's a part of that where the stigma has influenced policy and influenced how people are treated, and some of the loss of autonomy, particularly.
Absolutely, yeah.
But how sluggish and immobile the machine is, I think, is so much about, well, we can't be liable here and we don't want to be accountable. This is still on them. So it's kind of turning and I say that with a little bit of empathy towards the system. I still carry anger towards the system as a whole and the machine as a whole. But I think it's not just all about them looking at me and judging me, because I think that almost gives them too much credit for thoughtfulness. They're looking inward, and they're keeping a wall up themselves to make sure that they're protected, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, and I agree with you 100%. I also think there's stigma allows for the us-them mentality to flourish, especially within the machine. It also supplies good fuel for the hierarchy that exists there. With stigma, it's very difficult to move laterally. Everything is paternal, top down. I'm the professional and you are the person who fucked up. And that, as long as that kind of perception, or as long as you continue with that angle or game plan, there's going to be problems. It's not ideal. We know that that's not ideal because you're keeping heavy ego still involved in the process.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
My dog's barking. Keeping heavy ego involved in the process. I might have to, once she's done there and comes back in, I'll just put the gate up so she's not in and out.
Okay.
So yeah, those two things, sir. And I think that it's easy to fall into the trap of, it's almost like a victim mentality with stigma as well, right? And if you're part of the problem of, running into trouble with addiction is too much of a focus on oneself in the first place, I think, right? And caring too much about what other people think, and maybe having a skewed value of other people's opinions, and overthinking what they're, most people are not thinking about at all. Yeah. It's, it's kind of a maybe a balance that gets worse with certain types of addictions.
Yeah. And I think it's actually kind of empowering to change that, and to say, like, instead of to say that we are stigmatized is disempowering, and to say the healthcare system, the unions, the governing bodies are all bogged down, dysfunctional, and struggling. And it has nothing to do with me. Like, that's kind of an empowering feeling to say, you know what, this is actually the fact that they've taken weeks to let me know the direction this is going, or months to get back to me, or, whatever. It's not about me, but it's very easy to say that it is. So
yeah, certainly when you're in that position.
Very much so. Very much so. So that's my first one.